Imagine a world where work, as we know it, simply vanished. Not through economic collapse or societal breakdown, but through technological advancements so profound that human labor became largely obsolete. What would happen to us? Would we descend into chaos or embrace a new golden age? The answer, I believe, lies somewhere far more unsettling and fascinating than you might expect. To truly grasp the implications of a post-work society, we first need to understand the bedrock upon which our current world is built, the centrality of work. For centuries, our identities, our social standing, even our sense of self-worth have been inextricably linked to what we do for a living. From hunter-gatherers to industrial laborers to knowledge workers, the act of contributing, of producing, has been the engine of human civilization. We've defined ourselves by our professions, measured success by our output, and structured our entire lives around the 9 to 5, the grind, the hustle. Take a moment to think about the first question you're often asked when meeting someone new. What do you do? It's a societal shorthand, a quick way to place someone, to understand their role in the grand tapestry. Our education systems are designed to prepare us for work. Our economies are built to create it. Even our deepest anxieties often stem from the fear of joblessness, of redundancy. This isn't just about money, it's about purpose, about belonging, about having a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So, when the idea of work disappearing enters the picture, it's not just a minor economic shift, it's an existential earthquake, threatening to dismantle the very foundations of what it means to be human in a connected society. The machines are coming, not just for our jobs, but for our very definition of self. The initial whispers of a post-work future were often utopian. Futurists envisioned a world of leisure where humans would be free to pursue art, science, philosophy, and personal growth without the constraints of economic necessity. A universal basic income funded by hyper-efficient automated industries would provide for everyone's material needs. Sounds idyllic, doesn't it? But reality often takes a darker, more complex turn. As the first waves of automation hit, not the simplistic robots of science fiction, but invisible algorithms, AI-driven logistics, self-optimizing systems, the initial reaction wasn't widespread joyous liberation, it was confusion. Then a creeping sense of anomie. Millions found themselves no longer needed, and while their basic needs were met, a deeper, more insidious void began to grow. The golf courses weren't suddenly overflowing with budding poets. Instead, a significant portion of the population drifted. Without the structure of work, without the daily challenges and social interactions it provided, many experienced a profound loss of purpose. Depression rates climbed. Community ties, once forged in shared workplaces, frayed. The dream of endless leisure began to feel, for many, like a sentence of endless aimlessness. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Human nature, ever adaptable, began to pivot in unexpected ways. New, entirely non-economic forms of work emerged. The most successful examples weren't driven by monetary compensation, which was already guaranteed, but by recognition, influence, or sheer personal satisfaction. These micro-economies of meaning became the new battlegrounds for status and self-worth. Imagine complex, almost ritualistic online gaming communities, not just for entertainment, but for achieving rank and credibility that translated into social capital in the real world. Or intricate craftsmanship guilds where the value wasn't in selling the product, but in mastering the skill and sharing knowledge within the community. Reputation became currency. Scarcity shifted from goods to authentic experience, to genuine connection, to deep learning. Entire swathes of the population dedicated themselves to elaborate, self-created projects, from open-source scientific research to the digital construction of immersive virtual worlds. The struggle wasn't for survival, but for significance. The question wasn't, how do I earn my living, but how do I earn my meaning? This created an intriguing dichotomy. Unparalleled material comfort, paired with an intense, sometimes fraught, search for individual and collective purpose, leading to the rise of new forms of social stratification based not on wealth, but on perceived contribution to these new purpose-driven ecosystems. Some thrived, finding profound meaning in these self-directed pursuits. Others, however, simply stagnated, unable to replace the foundational structure that traditional work had always provided. What they discovered next changed everything. The critical shift wasn't just about replacing labor, it was about reimagining the very concept of human contribution. No longer driven by the need for productivity, society began to value creativity, innovation, and care in entirely new ways. The niche economies of meaning that had started as fringe movements began to solidify, becoming the backbone of societal engagement. Education systems completely transformed, focusing less on rote skills for employment and more on critical thinking, collaborative problem-solving, and continuous learning for personal fulfillment. People spent their unburdened time not simply consuming, but creating. Entire industries sprung up around facilitating these new forms of workless work. Personal purpose coaches became a ubiquitous profession, guiding individuals through the labyrinthine process of self-discovery and meaning-making. Digital platforms emerged that curated and connected individuals to grand collaborative projects, from crowdsourced climate solutions to massive open-source art installations that spanned continents and virtual realities. The care economy exploded. With basic needs met, people had the mental and temporal capacity to focus on genuine human connection, community building, and personal well-being. Elderly care, child development, mental health support, and even simple intentional acts of neighborly kindness became the most valuable contributions to society, often rewarded not monetarily but with social credits or community recognition that conferred genuine status. But this utopia wasn't without its shadows. The intense focus on purpose and self-actualization created its own pressures. Those who struggled to find their passion or who lacked the intrinsic motivation for deep engagement found themselves feeling even more adrift than before. A new form of social stratification emerged, not between rich and poor, but between the engaged and the unmoored. While resources were abundant, the sense of belonging, achievement, and respect became the new scarce commodities. Purpose inequality became a topic of intense debate. What happens to human beings when the primary driver of their existence, the need to work to survive, is removed? Do we atrophy, or do we evolve into something new? The answer, as it turns out, was a complex, fascinating, and sometimes terrifying mixture of both. The systems designed to support humanity suddenly had to contend with humanity's deeper, often contradictory needs for challenge, meaning, and connection. To this day, the true implications of the post-work society continue to unfold. We are no longer defined by our jobs, but by our passions, our contributions to the collective human experience, and our relentless, often frustrating, search for meaning in a world of infinite possibility. The old anxieties about breadwinning have been replaced by new ones: the pressure to be constantly engaged, to make a meaningful impact, to justify our existence in the absence of traditional economic output. Connection has become paramount. With traditional workplaces gone, communities have reformed around shared interests, skills, or even just spatial proximity, creating a more fragmented but intensely personal social fabric. Some argue we've achieved humanity's ultimate goal, freedom from toil. Others contend we've merely traded one set of chains for another, albeit invisible ones forged from an existential quest. The most profound questions remain: what is a human being's ultimate purpose if not to labor? Can our species truly thrive when the fundamental drive for survival is eradicated? And as we continue to push the boundaries of what machines can do, we must grapple with the most fundamental question of all. What then is left for us to do? The post-work society isn't a destination, it's an ongoing, evolving experiment in the very nature of humanity. If you want to explore more profound shifts in human civilization, you may find the next video on the end of privacy equally unsettling and thought-provoking.